You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to The Spectral Zone with host Caz Rooney.
Good evening, guys, and welcome to the Spectral Zone on Parasearch Radio UK. I am Caz Rooney, and tonight I want to cover the subject of empaths, sensitives and protection, because this is something that's been creeping up quite a lot lately in various forms and in various discussions. So there was only one person I could really talk about this with that would make sense, I think, and that's the lovely Anan Celeste, who is all the way in California. Hello, Anan.
Hi, Caz.
How are you?
Oh, very good, very toasty and warm over here, I'm sorry to say.
Stop it. We're going to do a house swap. We are going to do a house swap if you keep saying that. Now, I wanted to bring you on because I felt you'd be the best person to do this subject with me about empaths and sensitives and about protection quite a lot, because this has been creeping up a lot. Have you noticed that?
Oh, yes. Now that you mention it that way, it has popped up everywhere. The convention's done. Actually, next week there is a convention here with big names in the LA area about empathic abilities and how to protect the empath community. And it's amazing how now more than ever we have embraced the fact that we are special in many ways, and more people are waking up. And it doesn't matter if it is inside or outside the paranormal community, we have to take steps to actually protect ourselves, protect our energy, and protect our space.
Yeah. There is an awful lot of people who are empaths and don't realise it. I have actually came across a few over the years, and they've kind of realised through discussions we've had that they are actually empaths. But how would you define an empath?
An empath is a person that by its definition, it's in contact with everything that surrounds them, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even physically. We can, an highly empathic person can pick up on the emotions or sometimes lack thereof of people, not situation, but places also in their environment. Yeah. There are some empaths that are so in tune with the electromagnetic fields of their surroundings that they actually can pick up in plants, animals, and what they call residual energy in the environment. Empathic people have a lot of things in common. They they suffer from depression, most of them from anxiety. I came to find out not so long ago, thanks to the wonderful work of Dr. Orloff, that she's an empathic psychiatrist. that she has dedicated the last 20 years of her life to actually is not only study, but actually help a lot of empaths to get them out of being overly medicated. A lot of empaths go for help to their psychologists and psychiatrists because they suffer from panic attacks and depression, suicidal thoughts, because they cannot cope with their influx of emotion. And unfortunately, the medical community, what they do is they start to medicate them and overly medicate them, and that creates other problems. So we have now that all these communities, you have seen them in Facebook and in other social media and websites popping all around the internet, of empaths coming together to try to solve the little mishaps of their day, how to cope, how to not only protect themselves from their environment, how to find the quiet time, how to recharge, how to ground themselves. And I think those are wonderful free tools that everybody can do, and they don't have to get out of their comfort zone, their home, and they have it at the palm of their hand.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, I got into a discussion also about sensitives.
Yes.
And it was basically the way the discussion went was, do empaths and sensitivity go hand in hand? I would say they do, for the most part. I do think they do go hand in hand. But what I have come across is lately there has been an awful lot of people turning up and they're saying, oh, we're having this problem, how do we protect ourselves? There seems to be a misconception that you only have to protect yourself when you have a problem, which is completely wrong. I don't know if you agree with that, Anan, but I think protection should be something that's done daily.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is, it's like preventive medicine.
Yeah.
Exactly. There is no point if you wait until you get sick to actually go into treatment. It's much better to actually feed your body or prevent certain behaviors to actually keep your body healthy. The same thing happens with your auric body or your emotional body. We have to keep them in optimal condition. We have to protect it so all those contaminants from the environment don't affect us in the same way. So when a big rush, for example, and this is something that at least it has happened to me, that there are certain things that we cannot prevent from happening, like sudden deaths or a breakup or a disappointment, a huge disappointment or something of that nature that we cannot prevent or we're not prepared to. If we are ready in the sense that we are protected, that we keep our auric body clean in the sense that we know how to react, we know how to bring ourselves to grounding, we know how to put ourselves into a quiet setting, even if we are in the middle of chaos. We know how to count to 10 backwards and say, okay, I just need to ground myself. We need to prepare ourselves for that, because if we are all of a sudden in a crisis mode, we're not going to be able to do that on cue. So that it takes practice. So it is critical for empaths and sensitives to actually do that.
I mean, I have said many a time, I'm so used to doing protection bubble. Put myself in protection bubble. I could be walking about the house, or I've done it in locations. I've been walking about locations, and people have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm putting myself in a protection bubble. But you get into the routine of doing it. It's important to get into that routine of doing it.
Oh, yes. And it's going to come a point when you do it automatically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is very important. And at first, people feel kind of weird. But for other people that really need it, they feel so comfortable after the whole process is finished that they cannot stop doing it because they really need that type of recharge.
Well, this is the thing. Another thing that has came up, I don't know if you came across this. One person actually said to me, it's only the people that are really close to me, though, that can affect my energy. And I had to say, well, no, if you go out, it could be a complete stranger you don't know. But there could be a bad energy, and it affects your mood completely. It can completely wreck your whole day.
Oh, definitely. I remember when I was 14 years old. I came to school, and I remember that our teacher, she just said we're going on a field trip, and unfortunately we have to. And she didn't explain anything. She just loaded us in a bus, and I am the kind of person that back then I would do everything that I was told by the faculty. So I just got into the bus, and I started to feel extremely emotional in the bus. And I could describe like a huge panic attack. Like I didn't know what to do with myself. I started to cry. I started to. I remember I had a handkerchief and I destroyed it in my lap. And when they parked and we got out, it was in front of a funeral home. And yes, in front of a funeral home. And we were going past the funeral home on foot to get to another location. I couldn't stop crying. And the teacher got really mad and said, "What is wrong with you? Why are you behaving this way?" One of our classmates, she came out of the funeral home, and we haven't seen her in months. And she came out of the funeral home, and I kind of recognized her. I said I kind of because I really don't remember. I kind of recognized her, but I ran toward her and I started hugging her. Yeah. When the teacher, she yanked me by my clothing and said, "What are you doing?" And an older person said, "That's okay. This is so and so." And she was telling me that they were actually in the process of doing the funeral arrangements for my classmates that I didn't know that well, moms that died 2 days later. And when I saw that, I could not stop. I just couldn't stop crying. I just couldn't stop crying. And the girl was looking at me like, "I think I know you, but I don't know why you're so upset. Yeah. Why are you so upset?" But of course, this is the type of things that to certain empaths, it's extremely embarrassing, it's extremely awkward, and that is the worst case scenario. When you are in a place full of people that there's all sorts types of emotions, anger, hate, even greed or what have you, it gets extremely difficult to sort it out. And sometimes an empath can think that it's their own emotions. Sometimes they think it's somebody in the house, but it can something that is just residual from other person that it was there or somebody that it just went by. It all depends the type of empath that we're actually talking about. But unfortunately, the residual energy of an emotion can last for a long time in a space. So, yeah.
I mean, you've said about that situation when you were young.
Yeah.
Thinking about it and what I've looked at and the people I've spoken to, we all seem to be that way from quite young. Now, I used to be the agony aunt in high school. If anybody had a problem, they come to me. If anybody had something needed sorted, they come to me. That's the way I've always been. But thinking about that, I mean, if you're like that from young, you kind of feel different from everyone else, don't you?
Oh, yes.
You feel completely alien to everybody else at times, because you're like, why don't they get this? And they don't get it the way you get it. And I've been accused of being overly sensitive when I was a child. But I think that's why. Because I'm an empath and because I've had that trait and been born with that way, then I have been overly sensitive and I have been, but obviously when you're young, you're not equating why you're feeling all these emotions or these energies. It takes time to figure it out. But
It does.
do you feel it's important to help other empaths? I mean, you must come across people that are empaths and don't realise it.
Oh yeah, all the time. All the time, especially the younger they are, especially in teen years. They confuse trying to find their way into the world with with being an undeveloped empath. And I have worked with teenagers and young adults for 23 years, and 98% of the most troubled, the most, especially those that have experimented with drugs and other things that I'm not going to mention. It's them trying to find ways to cope with all of that influx of emotions. And they have been taught, don't feel that way, don't do this way, or don't shut yourself down. They're trying to shut themselves down with alcohol, with drugs, and with other behaviors. And it's amazing that all of these, and when you check their background, they come from very highly intuitive families. They're trying to shut down those kids by saying that is evil, or you should not feel that way. You should not do this. You should not be like that. And over again, it's the same thing. So they feel awkward. They feel evil. They feel, and these are children, because to me, a 25-year-old is a child in many ways. And it boils my blood whenever I hear a parent and saying that to a 16-year-old, for example. And thank goodness that we have, I have created certain modules of, it's not therapy because it's not really therapeutic, it's modules of understanding and modules of conversation. So also the parents get to admit that they have felt this way. They have struggled with this. And this is a generational thing. And once the parent accepts that they too have felt this way, but they have quenched or squashed that gift too in their teenage years and early childhood, the child feels normal. The child feels more in tune when their family say, okay, mom and dad went through this too. And it is not something that is only me. And the whole dynamic changes.
See, I don't know personally how it came about for you, but I think I got to about 17. And I kind of realised I was on this different path from other people. And I've been exploring the paranormal a little bit. But once I started realising who I really was, I was more comfortable in my own skin. Saying that I was an empath wasn't a problem. A lot of people don't understand what empaths are, but I felt more comfortable the minute I could say, well, do you know what, this is what I am. And the minute that I could say what I was, the pressure was off. The minute I could realise it and I could learn how to look after myself but still help other people.
To me, it was the complete opposite.
Really?
Yes, it was the complete opposite. I was born into a family of mediums, a family of empaths, a family of sensitives that did everything in their power to hide it.
Really?
Yes. Yes. They had, I lived with my grandmother, so she had a very high-ranking position in the Department of Education over there where we lived. So that was not the kind of thing that she would advertise or allow anybody in the family to actually say out loud. She had high connections with in the political arena. So it was a big hush-hush thing. But at the same time, we were not trained because we never did it that way in our family. It was more like, let's find out how. It was like Hogwarts.
Yeah.
It was like Hogwarts behind closed doors. Yeah. Let's see what you can do so we can sort you in your house.
Yeah.
So with my sister was one thing, with me was another thing, and people would come from all over the island to actually guide us in certain things like divination tools or mediumship or other types of trying to connect with the other side, but without telling us that's exactly what it was. Yeah. Say, let's see if you have a knack for this, and if you don't, they would never mention us to it again. Let's see. They were like tests. By the age of 5, if we passed those tests, then we would present it to a teacher, just like in martial arts, and then we start developing the gift. Wow. So that's why I rebelled against it. Exactly. It's like, I want to be like everybody else. I don't want to see all these things. I don't want to feel this way. And the fact that my grandmother would always say, but you don't have a choice. This is like being born a certain way. Yeah. You're born this way. So it's, unfortunately, you have to suck it up, learn how to live with it. Yes. And you have to do what you have to do. And that's when I was 10 that I heard that speech. So, needless to say that I said, okay, but how am I going to deal with something that I don't know nothing about? And her response was priceless. It was priceless. This was an educator. She had a master's degree from the University of New York. And her answer was, then you have to better find out, then hit the books.
Wow.
Yeah, hit the books.
Hit the books.
Hit the books. Yeah, hit the books. And I said, oh, what books? And what books? And I said, that's for you to find out. And she dropped me at the library. Yeah. And I said, okay, what am I supposed to do here? And that's how I started studying religions and anthropology and philosophy and theosophy. So, yeah, that's how it started.
What a lot of people probably don't, the people that listen probably don't know, but you're actually an ordained minister, aren't you?
Yes, I am an ordained minister. Oh. And it was, yes. I'm an ordained. For the Christians, I am a demonic witch. Yeah. For the Wiccans, I am just a Bible thumper. And for everybody else. So, yeah, I am so used to it that it all depends who am I talking to. Yeah. They either say, okay, then you're this, then you're this, then you're this. It all depends who I'm talking to. Because if I am going to talk to somebody, I have to make sure that that I know. For example, for the Wiccans, right here in the West, Wiccans is something completely different that I was in England. And when I tried to explain to them, are you acquainted with the Gartner tradition? They have no idea. They have no idea.
I actually posted about that the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I posted about Gartner tradition the other day, and there was a lot of people going, "Oh, we didn't know that." So I know what you mean.
Exactly, and it's shameful. And I said, "Oh, all Wiccans are the same." And I said, "No. We have the Alexandrians, we have the Golden Dawn, we have this, we have that." And it's very important to me It always has, because that's something else that it was very ingrained in me, that we have to respect every single tradition in its entirely in purity.
Yeah.
And because that's part of what it is. And if we keep those traditions,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be in its entirely in purity, but know the history and respect every single, well, how can I put this? Respect and honor everything that they did all those years ago. So we can talk about it today with the liberty that we can talk about today. The way that Garner went into BBC for the first time and talk about witchcraft, when back then it was such a taboo, it is very important to be celebrated today, because if it wasn't for him back then doing that, televised, and there would be no Harry Potter, there would be no such a thing today.
Well, I mean, as you know, myself and Maxine run a witchcraft group. We run witchcraft, magic in the occult. And we regularly get people coming on and going, so where do I start? And we always say to them, you have to do the research. You have to know the history before you worry about anything else. You need to go and learn the history. And you get people that actually are quite disappointed with that.
Yes.
And just jump in there and it's all good. But it's like, you need to know the history to know what you're doing. And we do the same with empaths and sensitives. Yeah. On the group, we do a lot of work with empaths and we do a lot of work with sensitives, because this keeps creeping up all the time. All the time it creeps up. So, I mean, I think the way things are going, the way I see it, we've just come out of this major shift. December was horrendous for a lot of empaths. I think that we're just going through an awful lot. But nowadays, we can talk about it more freely. We can talk about being empaths. We can talk about being sensitives. And we can give the information to other people on how to protect themselves.
Absolutely.
Because if we don't teach them how to protect themselves, you're going to end up with a lot of people with a lot of problems.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I mean, I don't know about your family personally, but one of my children, I won't name which one, but I bet she's listening. I bet she goes, she's talking about me. But she is an empath. Mm-hmm. But if you said that to her, she'd go, no, I'm not.
Yep.
No, I'm not.
Yep.
Yeah, you are. Because I watch her and see her being the way I used to be, and I'm like, she's an empath. But she hasn't realised it yet.
It takes time. It really takes time, because unfortunately, when people are trying to find themselves, and when I say people, I said everybody between the ages of 12 and 30. When they're trying to find themselves, they want to prove to themselves that they can handle their lot on life. So when mom tells them, you are this or you are not this, and we have the mom wall. So automatically, they shut down. So sometimes if they hear it in the media, if they see it on Facebook, if they see a video about it, of course, if it's 30 seconds or a minute long, the better, because that's how the brain absorbs better information.
Yeah.
It's different. It's very different.
Now, one thing I did want to talk about, which probably is the bad side of being an empath, is we tend to attract people who, we're not saying all people, let me be clear on this, we are not saying all people, but we do tend to attract people who are very needy, and literally you can run yourself ragged trying to look after these people and help these people, and you will get no thanks for it.
There are two things right there, and for both, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it is, as an empath, if you're going to keep your sanity, don't expect thanks or appreciation or even recognition, for that matter, because you're probably never going to get it. You're probably never going to get it. Yeah. Regarding the type of people that empaths attract, it's like moths to a flame. Not only needy people, but also narcissistic people, energy vampires. All of those people that actually take advantage of your inability to say no.
Yes.
Take advantage of your inability, and I'm going to say that again, your inability to say no, because poor lad or poor child, or what can we do about your case? And
I find myself that they could do the most awful thing and you will forgive them, and the minute they're in trouble you'll jump in and try and help them again.
Oh yeah.
You can't turn your back on people. It's just impossible.
We are genetically, we cannot do it. It's embedded in our genetics. We cannot do it.
Yeah.
We can't. But at the same time, we have to understand, we have to come to a point in our development that we have to learn how to walk away.
Yeah.
Why? Because unfortunately, most, if not all, empaths also attract narcissistic people and ego-minded people into our relationships, our permanent relationships. And unfortunately, we also, and this hurts me really bad to say this out loud. Why? Because I was one of them.
Yeah.
It really hurts me, but I have to say it in the name of truth. I have to say it. We can also become codependent.
Yeah.
And also create these very damaging relationships with people that depend on us, like our children.
Yes.
I can say it because I did it. I have to say it. I did it. And it took me a long time to actually learn how to say no, learn how to walk away, learn how not to feel guilty, and how to forgive myself about things that I didn't do.
Yeah.
And before falling into that encasing, into that category, we have to actually realize that we are not here to save everybody. We are not here to actually we are not here to be a martyr. We are here to guide and to try to help other people help themselves. There is a difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you, I've been there. I have learned the hard way. But now I believe I'm at that stage, like yourself. It took me time, but you do get to a stage where you learn how to say no. You learn when you can't actually go any further to help that person, and you have to walk away from it, whoever it may be.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, that brings me on to protecting yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now, literally, you said exactly what Kerry Greenaway said last week, and this wasn't on a radio show. We were chatting and we were explaining to someone else. It's basically like a moth to a flame.
Yep.
Or a moth to the light. So if you imagine an empath being like a light bulb,
oh, yeah.
Putting that protection is like putting a net around that light bulb. stop the moth getting too close to it to protect your energy. That's the way Kerry puts it, which I thought was brilliant. But how would you go about protecting yourself? What would you advise others to do?
Before it was very hard for me. It was very, very hard for me because information would come from everywhere and anywhere. And this is something that I have never said anywhere else or written about anywhere else. But for the sake of the conversation, this is a premiere, first time anywhere. I have been, and I've been trained as a medium, as an actual medium, not a person that actually hears the dead or actually sees some apparition. I'm talking about full-blown experiences with entities. And ever since I was a little child, in very close environments with people. I participated in certain studies with not only teachers but professors. And when it comes to paranormal, I have been there ever since I was a little child, trying to measure, the original Ghostbusters type of thing.
Okay.
But nobody that would use me as a test subject, but none of them taught me how to protect myself.
Really?
Yes, because I was just a test subject. I was just a thing that could do something, and it would look amazing on the graphics. It would look amazing on the computer, but they really didn't care about what I would go home to.
Now, see, that's wrong.
It was, but I didn't know any better.
Okay.
And since I couldn't consent because I was a minor, it was, and to me it was normal. To me it was normal. So, but I was always afraid. Always, because after everything was said and done, they would have their notes, they would have their findings, but I would have to go home to the dark room alone in a house that I knew exactly where, that we were surrounded by a whole bunch of multi-dimensions and not only spirits, but other stuff. And it was difficult. It wasn't until I started learning about energy.
Okay.
Until I started studying physics, energy, and martial arts, and how the Tao Te Ching, that's the book of life in the Chinese. Okay. And I started doing martial arts that I started like Caz says, trying to visualize my field of energy. Then I stumbled into the chakras. And it took me a couple of years to actually do the whole thing, to try to understand why I felt so invaded and why my space was feeling invaded. Yeah. The moment I realized if that can work from the outside to the inside, then I surely can do that from the inside to the outside. Okay. So, and I started asking and interviewing people from different cultures. What do you do to protect yourself? People from Africa do it one way. People from the India do it another way, which they're very similar. For example, salt, sulfur, black salt. Yeah. Those are universal things that people do to actually clear their space. Certain incenses, certain smells. That was hilarious to me, because when I found out about how incense have been used, for example, by the Catholic Church for centuries to actually cleanse the space, I actually cracked me up. I said, "This is so funny. This is so funny." Yeah. Yeah, meditation, how to use meditation. Most
Yeah.
people say, but I can't meditate. There is no way that I can meditate. I cannot empty my mind. Meditation is not about emptying our mind. It's to redirect your thoughts.
Yeah.
To redirect your thoughts and put yourself in a place to actually, how can I describe this? Whenever I do meditation,
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to meditate for 10 minutes, for example. I always use music, not music with lyrics. It's always a specific music, and I always use a certain megahertz frequency,
Okay.
never above 830.
Okay.
Never above 830 because freaky stuff starts to happen. Yeah, I always stay at 430, 425, 300, not 300, 400, yeah, 50. That's to calm down, and 9 out of 10 times, those 10 minutes turn to 3 hours because you just forget about everything else. You just, yeah. Then there's other types of experiments.
Yeah.
Sorry?
You completely relax when you're meditating.
Oh.
I do different ones. I do meditation to connect with guides. I do meditation to unblock my chakras. I do meditation lots of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to protection, I always open myself up. I always put myself in a protection bubble. I'm more comfortable in a bubble.
Is it pink or is it purple?
No, mine is white. Glowing white.
Glowing white.
Yeah. And most
people, it's pink or purple.
Do you know what? I actually have a friend. Wait to hear this, Anan. When she puts herself in a protection, she puts herself in a Fabergé egg.
Oh.
Purple lined and closes herself right in it. And I thought, wow, I've never heard of that before. But that's what she does. She puts herself in a Fabergé egg.
You know that I have heard that? There are cultures. Really? Yes, there are cultures that actually use the egg form, that what they call the egg of life, to actually use it as a protection.
Yeah.
That when they want to feel that and they teach their children, whenever you're afraid in the middle of the night, just imagine that you're inside a big ostrich egg or in a big egg. Yeah. And nothing is going to happen to you.
Yeah.
That is an amazing, amazing, amazing story. A Fabergé egg. Glammed up egg.
Well, Sue is actually my friend, and she lives next door. She's rather posh. She's got Stonehenge in her back garden. Come on. She's got Stonehenge and she puts herself in a Fabergé egg.
That's an expensive egg.
Yeah, she's posh. But I always put myself in the bubble. I'm actually going to get in trouble. I bet I get people messaging me after this show going, really? But what I actually do is, when we're on location, I actually visualise the people that are around me. I kind of put them in a protection bubble as well, but I don't tell them I'm doing it. I just do it. Because some of them don't want to do that, but they don't understand that you need to do that. So that's what I do.
In my case, I used to a long time ago use the bubble, the egg.
Yeah.
After I got older, and yes, I am way older. It was more like a frequency, and it's like hitting a drum, and the vibration just goes outwards. It's like cleansing the space.
Yes.
That's exactly how I was thinking about it. And I said, it's not like ray of lights. It's not like turning on a light. It's more like hitting a gong and all the vibration goes outwards. Like, get out of my space type of thing.
I actually know people who picture themselves as be rooted like a tree, rooted into the ground as well. I know people do it that way. There is so many different ways you can protect yourself.
That is an amazing way of grounding. That is an amazing way of cleansing all that emotional and mental residue that you have. The best way to do that, it doesn't matter what the temperature is outside, and I know you girls are not in the mood for this, it would be to go outside and be barefoot. Barefoot and touch the ground and touch a tree and to ground and walk barefoot. Well, not in a sub-zero, but but it is very important. Why? And this is scientifically proven that between, since we have put soles underneath our shoes, all the things that could ground us have unfortunately have dissipated, and it creates so many imbalances in the body that just by 50 minutes, 30 minutes of walking barefoot, all those things that we were told not to do by our parents is dirty. No, unfortunately, is necessary because we need to ground ourselves to our environment, not to the concrete. I'm talking about real grass, real ground, real earth.
Do you know something? I find it quite interesting you've said that because I won't say who, but someone actually had to go at me a few years ago because I hate having things on my feet. I like walking about with nothing on my feet. I like to walk about. I'll walk about on stones, on pathways, on grass, whatever, barefoot. I'm more comfortable doing that than having things on my feet. But I've never actually thought about it. So maybe that's why.
All children of the earth feel more comfortable close to their mother.
Well, it's strange. I did actually get a row for that, going, oh my God, your feet will be like leather because you're always walking about barefoot. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm quite happy walking about barefoot.
It is necessary. It is necessary. And you do feel the difference.
Another good way of protecting yourself is with crystals.
Oh, yes.
My favourite is black tourmaline. I do have to say, I have a lot of black tourmaline.
I love that one. I have a little tree that I display my crystals suspended in the air.
Yeah.
I don't ask me why, but I don't know. I just like them like that. But adventuring, it's very good too. But the classic, something that everybody can find, it's the different types of quartz. The crystal quartz, smoky quartz, rose quartz. It's a sure, inexpensive way to go about it. And
my favourite pendulum is actually smoky quartz.
Yes, I have a huge one. A huge one. And whenever I'm feeling a little testy, when I feel it, I just grab it and I don't know if I can say it here. I put it inside my shirt near my heart.
That's fine.
And, I put it inside my shirt near my heart for an hour, and then I go ahead and clean it with sea salt and water. But that is very important also to clean our crystals properly, because crystals do collect and attract information and energy from everywhere.
Yeah.
Energy and information from everywhere. And this is not some...
Sorry. Go ahead.
And many people say, but that's a lie. It's just a piece of glass. Actually, the computers and the smartphones that you have in your home do have crystals because it's an excellent conduit for information. Yes.
Well,
and
I actually went to a location, and one person was so, how can I put it, so wound up that something bad was going to happen, that I gave them I gave them my black tourmaline crystal that I always carry with me, just to let him feel a bit better about things. And he felt a bit better, except I felt completely awful when I got the crystal back.
You felt naked.
And I literally cleansed it. It still wasn't the same. I tried to cleanse it, recharge it. It wasn't the same. And I got rid of the crystal and replaced it. But they do hold so much energy from the people that are handling them.
Wow.
They do.
True.
The other one, what else do I use? I use Apache Tears.
I have Apache Tears in a few places in my home, and I also give them as gifts.
Yeah. That's a nice gift to give, though.
Yeah. I make necklaces out of them.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to have to order one of those necklaces. Well, no, there's different ways of protecting yourself. And I think it's important, like myself, you, Kerry, Maxine, we know about these things. It's important for us to pass it on to empaths that are coming up and sensitives that are coming up that don't realise that they do have to protect themselves daily.
Oh, yes. And there is hope. And there is hope.
Yeah.
I know that most sensitives, and I'm not gonna call them empaths now. I'm gonna call them sensitives.
Okay.
All those people out there that feel that they are too sensitive to withstand or to understand how the world works, how there is so much pain and they cannot deal with so much pain, that it's too overwhelming. There is hope. There is millions of people like you. There is billions of people that are trying to go through the same thing and trying to survive in a world that are becoming more like them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is hope, and we have a bunch of resources in your local groups, in your local news media, and not news media, social media. Yeah. Just try to find people that understand what you're going through, and you will be surprised how many people like you are out there.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly it. And I mean, I think when they're trying to reach out, sometimes they're a little bit nervous and, no, I'm reading this all wrong and I'm making them out of a molehill and I'm not really like that, and you get all that before they finally accept the way they are.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is sad, really. But we've all been there. I've been there.
Oh, yeah.
Kelly's been there. It takes time for you to realise, but protection is so important, just on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Just get into the routine of doing it before you leave the house. It'll help you so much. And the number of times it's came up recently, I've got this problem, how do I protect myself? Well, why haven't you been protecting yourself? Because I didn't need to. They literally don't. There's a lot of empaths or sensitives who do not realise they need to protect themselves on a daily basis.
I always approach it in a way that many people try new fashions every day. Many people try to makeups every day. Why not, for the sake of fun, for the sake of an experiment? Let's do it like a social experiment. Yeah. Try to protect yourself for a week and compare how you felt before and after. You will be surprised of what the difference can it bring. Certain changes in your routine that it can bring about more clarity of mind even your health is going to change.
That's true.
Yeah. You have nothing to lose. You don't have to tell anybody. You
Yeah.
just try it in the comfort of your own home. You would be very surprised.
Now, you do your own show as well. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about that?
Sorry?
Tell everyone about your show as well.
Oh, yeah. I recently started. I forgot about that completely.
I'm not going to let you forget about that.
Yes, I do have a radio show and radio talk radio called Knowledge from Behind the Veil. We bring little, not controversial, but that's my intent, to bring everybody's voice from different denominations, different cultures, different ways of doing things. That if there is 50 types of, for example, Christianity, of 1,000 ways of doing witchcraft,
Yeah.
I like to hear the way that they do it in
Yeah.
their part of the world. And because that's how I learned how to see people. That's how I learned how to that's how I learned that even though everybody would call something by a different name, is exactly the same thing, which is amazing. It's a form of educating others that may not have the opportunity to be presented with something because they're afraid. Here in America, a lot of people are afraid of many things, and it's my intent to show them that there are things under the cabinet that are more frightful and more terrifying than another person's beliefs. So,
Well, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's fear of the unknown. If they don't
Yes.
understand it, then they're going to fear it.
exactly, it is fear of the unknown, and that was one of the reasons why I decided to do this.
Yeah.
Because nobody could understand. I did a couple of interviews like this one, and people would say, seriously, because I have taught in Christian churches, I have taught in Muslim churches, I have taught in Jewish churches, I have taught for not only Wiccan, but Alexandria and the Golden Dawns. I have done a lot of things for many different people.
Yeah.
And different denominations, and they get weirded out, and I said, why would you do that? And I said, because people are people. We all trying to find our divinity. So it's just the same path trying to reach the same place.
Yeah.
Just that some people don't see it.
Do you know what, man? This is why I love you. I think you're great because you embrace all of it.
I have to, because I see the divinity in everything. It's just that even the people that practice these religions, they don't see it in their own religion.
Yeah.
And that is, to me, is tragic and sad. And so you don't have to convert to anything. If you feel comfortable within a certain denomination, then embrace it, learn about it, and learn to love it. But that doesn't mean that you have to go at war to others. It's a matter of trying to opening up to possibilities. And yeah, not everybody likes it, but it's a start. It's a start.
I think it's the only way forward, really, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's the only way of going forward is to embrace everything. And to learn about it.
It is. Because unfortunately we cannot, we have to learn how to love each other. We have to learn how to coexist with each other. How can you love thy neighbor if you don't know them, if you don't understand why they have to worship in the way that they do, or why they cannot work on a Saturday, or why they cannot wear or not wear something? It's not that they we're going to do what they do. It's that to understand, to have compassion. And I think that's exactly what I'm trying to inspire compassion. And here, for example, in witchcraft here in America, there is a lot of people that still have that taboo.
Yeah.
And around here in my town, I live in a very small town, and many people that don't know me, they see me and they have called me a witch. This is a Quaker country, the very religious Christian town. And so they're called the witch. And after they see, they talk about me, and they have happened a couple of times that they see me that same Sunday giving a lecture at their church. Yeah. And I swear I could, and I did it once. I took up my phone and I took the picture of the person because their face was priceless. And I mix humor with the whole thing and say, I bet you did not thought in a million years that you were going to see me here telling you about the Bible, right?
Oh, Anan, it's been an absolute delight to speak to you. I could speak to you for hours. This is what I love about this. I could speak to you for hours. But we've come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for joining us. And we've got to have you on again. You've got to come on again.
The pleasure is all mine.
Honestly, I think you're brilliant. But tell everyone once again the name of your show.
Okay, you can find us on Facebook at our page, Knowledge from Behind the Veil. And you can find our updates there. So you can laugh with me.
So everyone, listen to Anan. She's got so much she can teach you, honestly. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, Anan. And to everyone listening, don't forget you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow Parasearch Radio on YouTube. And you can listen into all the previous shows as well. So from me, good night and take care.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.